It's the night of September the 12th, 1942, in the South Atlantic Ocean. The German submarine U-156 has been stalking a British armed merchant cruiser for hours. The U-boat has surfaced so it can keep up with its target, and Korvettenkapitan Werner Hartenstein keeps his distance to avoid detection. He watches through his periscope as the target chugs along. The British are completely unaware of the danger closing in. As dusk falls, some cabins ignore the strict blackout order. Each glowing window helps Hartenstein line up his shot. An alarm sounds across the submarine as torpedoes are prepared for launch. Firing tube 1. A 22-foot-long torpedo rushes out of the tube and races toward its target. Calling another shot, Hartenstein launches a second torpedo at the British ship. Tube 3, fire. He counts down the seconds as the torpedoes race towards the starboard side of the ship. Watching through the scope, he can see a massive spurt of water emerge as the first torpedo strikes the British merchant cruiser right in the center. Water rises high into the air and then falls away, revealing a massive gaping hole in the hull. Just moments later, a second torpedo slams into the vessel, striking closer to the bow and shaking the entire ship. Hartenstein watches with satisfaction through his spyglass as the British ship begins keeling over to starboard. Survivors dive from the stricken ship into the sea. On board U-156, the radio operator calls out. He has intercepted a distress signal from the cruiser. Attention, attention, the vessel sunk is the Laconia, 19,695 tons. A cheer goes up among the men. It's a massive prize, but with a distress signal sent out, it's only a matter of time before Allied air and naval vessels close in. Still, Hartenstein wants to try and capture the Laconia's captain. The cold night air hits him as he emerges from his hatch and stands on the bridge, scanning for any sign of the enemy captain as he closes in on the sinking British giant. The stricken ship is listing hard to starboard, and able seaman Jim McLaughlin is stranded, grasping hold of the railings. All around him is a scene of total chaos and panic. The ship is packed with military and civilian passengers. Men, women, and children rush to the lifeboats, trying to escape the sinking Laconia. Jim looks down over the port side. His best chance is to jump from the high side, but he can't face the drop. So he slides down the deck towards the starboard side, lowers himself into the water, and swims as fast as he can away from the sinking ship, out into the black expanse of ocean. Picking his way through a field of debris and panicking survivors, he spots a floating wooden raft up ahead. Already sheltering on it is his friend Davy Jones. "Bloody hell, Jim. Give me your hand." Davy pulls Jim up onto the raft. Shivering, the men watch the Laconia's stern rise up, its propellers lifted high into the air. Half a mile away, Hartenstein scans the ocean. The sea is filled with overcrowded lifeboats, and even more people clinging to the sides. Shouts and cries echo through the dark. Two men cling to a crate, shouting for help, but not in English, Italian. "Help!" Hartenstein is shocked. What are Italians doing on a British vessel? "Pull them out." Sailors drag the two men from the water, shaking with cold and fear. Brought before the captain, both plead with him. Italians, prisoners. A chill runs through Hartenstein's blood. The ship he has hit is full of his own allies. More and more men paddle toward the U-boat, desperate to reach salvation. The crew pull up an Italian corporal who speaks some German, and finally Hartenstein learns the truth. At least 1,500 Italian prisoners of war were on board the Laconia, along with hundreds of British women and children. Oh my God. Every hour Hartenstein stays here puts his U-boat and his men at risk. But this captain feels he owes a duty to his allies and to the civilians caught in the crossfire. The morning sun rises and beats down mercilessly on salt-covered skin. Jim dangles one leg into the sea, desperate for relief. Then a sharp pain tears through his calf. He hauls his leg back onto the raft. Blood wells from deep puncture wounds as a long silver shape slips away beneath the surface. A barracuda, gliding just out of reach. Then another shape appears, and another, circling the raft. Jim pulls his injured leg tight against his chest. It's swelling now, throbbing with every heartbeat. He stares up at the empty sky. No ships, no planes, no sign anyone even knows they're here. Then he hears it, the throb of an engine in the distance. He squints against the glare and sees a German submarine approaching. German sailors climb out of the tower and fan across the deck. Jim thinks they're here to finish them off. One sailor moves toward the bow, closing in on the machine gun. Jim's heart hammers as he braces for the end. But the sailor doesn't reach for the gun. Instead, he curls a length of rope and hurls it toward the raft. Catch, Englishman. Hartenstein has permission to conduct a rescue, and he believes his enemies deserve to live just as much as his allies. The submarine drags the raft alongside, and Jim and Davy are hauled aboard. Jim flops down, exhausted, his leg throbbing. Looking up, he's surprised to see a smiling face peering down at him. Ah, Royal Navy. Well, we couldn't just leave you in the water. He's helped to his feet and led across the deck for medical attention, the first of dozens of Allied servicemen to come aboard U-156. He's helped to his feet and led across the deck for medical attention, the first of dozens of Allied servicemen to come aboard U-156. He lashes 4 lifeboats to the hull for extra space, but it slows the U-boat to walking pace and turns it into a sitting target. His only shield is a plea broadcast across every open channel. If any ship will assist the shipwrecked Laconia crew, I will not attack her, provided I am not attacked by ship or air force. Out on deck, a sailor spots something in the distance. Aircraft, low to starboard. An unknown aircraft circles the submarine. Close enough now that the crew can make out a white star, American. It's a B-24 Liberator, piloted by Lieutenant James D. Harden, searching the area for Laconia survivors. Got a submarine down here, heading down to investigate. At 250 feet, Harden can see the deck is packed with passengers, the U-boat dragging lifeboats behind it. Fix the Red Cross flag. The crew rush to the bow and stretch an enormous Red Cross flag over the deck gun. Now get down on the deck. U-5 and 5-6 is completely exposed. Every life aboard is now in the pilot's hands. The Liberator circles but doesn't attack, and Hartenstein allows himself to breathe. He sends a captured RAF officer up to the bridge, and together they flash a signal with an Aldous lamp. RAF officer speaking from German submarine. Laconia survivors on board. Soldiers, civilians, women, children. But Harden's crew were never trained to read Morse by lamp. All they catch is one word, German. They break off and fly back toward radio range. Harden reaches his commander, Captain Robert Richardson, and tries to explain what he's seen, though even he isn't sure. This has got to be some kind of German trick. But they're flying the Red Cross, sir. Silence on the line while Richardson decides. Sink the sub at once. Yes, sir. Harden brings the Liberator around, drops low, and begins his attack run. Through the cockpit glass, the submarine and its lifeboats grow larger. On deck, panic breaks out. Soldiers leap up, waving their arms desperately, trying to call off the attack. It's no use. Harden keeps coming. Get down. The Liberator screams overhead. Bombs crash into the water short of the hull, drenching the crowded deck in spray. The plane pulls up and banks away. Hartenstein crouches by the conning tower, watching it turn for another pass. The only way to save his crew now is a crash dive, but he can't dive while carrying hundreds of refugees still crowding his deck.
Cut the tactical cable now!
It's an agonizing call, but he makes it. Cut the lifeboats
Moving
loose.
to the stern!
A sailor sprints to the stern with an axe. One rope splits clean under the first blow. 2 to go. He swings again. The second rope is thicker, and the blade only bites halfway through.
All hands, brace for impact!
He raises the axe for another strike, but there's no time left. The Liberator is already screaming back in. Hartenstein throws himself flat as a bomb whistles down. This one connects. A lifeboat vanishes in a deafening blast, killing several men instantly, splinters and shrapnel raining across the deck. Hartenstein stares at the wreckage as the Liberator wheels around for a third run and releases its final bomb, this one detonating directly beneath the hull. The blast lifts U-156 clear out of the water and throws the men on deck off their feet.
All hands, report damage! Seal all bulkheads!
Harden watches from the cockpit as the submarine wallows in the churn below him. He has his kill, but something about it doesn't sit right with him. U-boat sinking. Return to base. Below deck. Hartenstein scrambles into the control room. Damage report. We're taking on water. The batteries are leaking. There's no choice left. Out. Out. Everyone out. Total mayhem as survivors dive off the deck and splash into the water.
Swim away from the hull!
Jim fights the current, his injured leg screaming with every kick, until hands pull him up into a lifeboat. The massive shape of U-5 and 56 draws alongside one last time. Hartenstein leans down from the conning tower and shouts over the chaos. Set your course north-northeast. The coast of Africa is 700 miles away. I wish you good luck. He salutes the survivors and disappears back into his submarine. Jim watches U-156 slide beneath the waves and vanish. And then there's nothing left but open water in every direction. It took the survivors 24 days to reach land. Jim's leg wound never fully healed on the crossing. Every day in the salt water reopened it a little more, low on food and water. In a sea still patrolled by the same predators that had marked him days before, their numbers fell every night. Finally, they sighted the coast, and stumbled ashore in Liberia. Of the roughly 2,800 people aboard the Laconia, fewer than half survived. Captain Werner Hartenstein was killed a year later, in May 1943, during another U-boat patrol, a man who broke his orders to save strangers and never came home himself. In response to the American attack on U-156, Admiral Karl Donitz issued the Laconia Order, forbidding German U-boats from ever again attempting to rescue survivors at sea. The last act of mercy any U-boat crew would be allowed to show had already happened, in the dark, off the coast of Africa, and it would never be repeated again. If you want to see another brutal story of men battling a U-boat, click this link and watch how a Catalina crew sank a submarine and then fought to survive in the freezing ocean.